The left just never learns the lessons, do they? So quick to brand, and sometimes they get bitten by the facts. Of course, it doesn't mean they don't impose damage in the process. Julie Calderon is to Los Angeles what Jussie Smollett is to Chicago. Julie Calderon was disappeared by ICE in the same way that Jussie Smollett was attacked by MAGA thugs in Streeterville. Fox has the story.
A Mexican national. She goes by Julie Calderon, and the feds say she's being charged with lying to police and conspiracy for this elaborate hoax that they believe was meant to incite even more tension and also possibly make some money. Federal investigators say a key piece of evidence, photos. Calderon and her co-conspirators had pictures ready, staged to make it look like she was in custody with a dirty face, even removing her shoelaces. But the feds say there's at least one glaring error, because she would have been asked to take off the necklace in an official federal photo. The U.S. government says surveillance video helped them crack the case. The feds say this woman lied about being kidnapped by federal agents at a Jack in the Box here in L.A., taken to San Ysidro to the south, and asked to self-deport, but she refused, so she was held in a warehouse. But the feds say they caught her roaming free in the Bakersfield area, hundreds of miles north. This scheme went to extremes: a filed police report, a GoFundMe, even a press conference announcing her disappearance.
So in this very parking lot a week ago, ununiformed men in unmarked cars kidnapped Julie. And with her courage and her strength, even though we don't know where Julie is and we don't know when we will find her, Julie has managed to make 2 phone calls to the family since she's been kidnapped.
The Department of Justice says Calderon was indeed using her iPhone during her alleged disappearance, which helped them locate her. She faces a maximum of 10 years if convicted. The U.S. attorney here in L.A. says, quote, dangerous rhetoric that ICE agents are kidnapping illegal migrants is being recklessly peddled by politicians and echoed in the media to inflame the public and discredit our courageous federal agents. We do have calls.
Yeah, being platformed by politicians. Oh, you mean like L.A. Mayor Karen Bass? She's a mother from L.A., taken out of her car on the way to work, and then held in a warehouse as officers hoped she would, quote, self-deport, unquote. No hearing, just fear. This doesn't make anyone safer. Right. The ICE disappearing people, the ICE, Pinochet-style death squads. And then what happens? You have an ICE officer shot in, CBP officer off duty shot in New York. Because just like you hear with police shooters, like we heard this week in testimony in the cop killer case in Chicago of Lasso. I was afraid of the police. That was the defense that was offered. I didn't know she was a cop. I was afraid of police. Wonder where that irrational fear of law enforcement comes from. Karen Bass, Brandon Johnson, so many others. For more on this and other topics, please be joined by Sam Olson, who's Field Office Director for the ICE office in Chicago. Sam, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
No, thanks for having me, Dan.
So what you heard in that Fox News report and obviously what you've seen in a much more poignant way than I have in terms of the politicians trying to make ICE a scapegoat for and a whipping sort of a whipping boy for their politics.
Yeah, it's definitely frustrating for us, and unfortunately, it seems like we're an easy boogeyman right now. When essentially we're charged by the Constitution and by the legislators to be out there enforcing the law that's been on the books for years now. And again, like our people are from these communities that they're serving too, and I think that's one of the things that sometimes gets misunderstood, that we keep them all in a box and then send them out into the community every morning, but coming from DC, but they're not, right? Our officers are from these communities. Their kids go to school in the same schools, and they're there to try to keep their own community safe as well, and that's the charge now, right? Is to try to just increase our public safety.
Well, right, and then the stories that get downplayed are the story. Well, ICE takes Lake County 52-year-old Lake County man into custody, charged with concealing the body of a missing 37-year-old Antioch woman. That 52-year-old from Waukegan is in this country illegally from Mexico, and now he's in ICE custody. So I think everybody's pleased with what ICE did in that case, and I'm not saying that ICE is beyond reproach or ICE officers don't have to color inside the lines too, but it's just the understanding and the presentation of what ICE does is just so uneven and distorted.
Right, and it is, and that's why I appreciate even the time to come on here, right? To kind of to try to let everybody know, like, what we do and what we don't do, right? I mean, we're there. We do targeted enforcement. We do look for the worst of the worst on the street. We're not going to turn a blind eye for those that are here illegally without any criminal charges if we do encounter those people on the street. But that's what we're looking for. We're looking for the ones that have committed crimes, and unfortunately here, in Illinois and in Chicago, there's laws in place where like other law enforcement agencies can't cooperate with us and can't let us know, when somebody's getting released from custody, which, in my opinion, it's a public safety issue for sure, because then we can't get these people from the jails. We have to be out on the streets to get them. So it puts us right in the communities where we could essentially pick them up, from the Cook County Jail.
Yeah, right. No, I mean, it's something that Tom Homan openly has talked about frankly, for years with respect to sanctuary jurisdictions. They just make everybody less safer, including the people that you have to deal with on the street rather than in custody. It's safer for all parties concerned, but that's not the position of Brandon Johnson and J.B. Pritzker and the politicians in this state, apparently. Something else, too, though, I just wanted to make note of and fold in ICE, your opinion here, and what ICE does or doesn't do with respect to this. On the one hand, you're seeing the targeted enforcement that you described and removing people from this country illegally, particularly those that present public safety threats. On the other hand, we also want to honor our commitments and we want to do right by people. Trump, the administration has struck a deal with the United Arab Emirates to stop the forced deportation of several Afghan interpreters and soldiers who assisted the U.S. military before they could be handed over to the Taliban this month. So, keeping our commitment to those people who aided our men and women in uniform when we needed it, when they needed the help. And so we need to honor our commitments to them. And I just wonder, sort of the vetting issue, generally speaking, how does ICE and CBP and sort of the other relevant parties within Department of Homeland Security, how do they all coordinate and play different roles when it comes to immigration law enforcement? I think people would like to have a better understanding of, who plays what role and how the communication works.
Right. It is. It's complicated because, DHS, Department of Homeland Security, has, a huge umbrella with, many different divisions and components underneath it. Well, for us, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, we do the interior enforcement. Once somebody has already gotten into the United States, we're charged with doing any interior enforcement. Well, then we have CBP, which is Customs and Border Protection, and the U.S. Border Patrol, which is under them. Their charge is to do the enforcement right at the border to stop anybody that's, coming in, essentially. So once they're in the country, that's us. And then, of course, you have like CBP, the Customs and Border Protection officers who work at the airports and other ports of entry. They're the ones that look into people that are coming in, say, with illegal means, maybe.
Yeah.
With a coming in that aspect. So essentially, we're where it all stops, right? When somebody's actually in the country, because we could have somebody that came into the country legally, but then have committed some crimes that make them actually deportable because of those crimes. And so we do all of that investigation. And so when we do come across people that, have come in legally, again, we take that investigation to a level, and we will coordinate with our partners in CBP, in DOJ, to make sure that there's no, other cases going on. We do a very good job of deconfliction on all of these cases because we don't always know, right, if somebody is wanted for something else, aside from the immigration piece.
So then you're communicating, when you say DOJ, you're communicating with FBI then on these cases?
That is correct. Yep. We have communication with FBI, with ATF, with DEA, because again, while, our charge essentially for ICE is, we're the only agency that can actually remove somebody from the U.S. But if somebody has a charge or a case going on that, arises to a larger conspiracy, we'll definitely work with those partners to ensure that, justice is served.
What do you say to those individuals, including those who have proposed legislation in this direction, that say that ICE officers should not be masked? We should be able to, readily identify ICE officers.
Yeah, the mask situation it seems like it's a big one. I'd like to say that first off, none of our officers enjoy wearing a mask, right? It's not comfortable to do, and unfortunately, it seems like that's the way it's become, and it's not because that our officers are ashamed of anything or that they're afraid. They understand the risk they took when they swore an oath to uphold the laws. But the issue is happening. It's not just affecting the officers, it's affecting their families, their spouses, their kids, their extended family, because of a lot of the doxing. It's happening everywhere. It's happened here in Chicago. So they feel that they have to wear those masks just to kind of protect their families. And it's unfortunate that it's happening.
The incidents in Chicago, I mean, what has the situation been here? Has it been, it hasn't been quite to the level that we've seen, say, in LA, at least not on this score, at least not yet, but just some color on what ICE agents are dealing with beyond the politicians, the sort of the activists that they enable, in many cases fund, and, who they exist with symbiotically.
Yeah, the officers here have a tough job. Like I said, it hasn't risen to the level that it has in Los Angeles, but every day they're dealing with people that don't like them doing their jobs, and and that's the unfortunate part, right? Our officers aren't enforcing laws that they've created. These are laws that have been on the books for years, and they're out there, doing what they've been sworn to do, and trying to keep the public safe. And, even this week, we've had several assaults on officers just attempting to do their jobs. We've had in the past just, bystanders trying to obstruct them in doing their jobs and, carrying out their lawful duties. And we've had to take action, on people. That's the last thing our officers want to do. Our officers are under enough, danger and stress when they're just searching for somebody they've targeted to arrest. And now they have to worry about what's going to go on around them in the community. And if they are going to have to, try to call in additional backup to just get out of a situation when they've conducted the lawful arrest. So it's happening, right? Like I said, just this week, we had 2 officers get assaulted. Not good, and there were some injuries there, and we're seeing it nationwide. I think the number thrown around now is an over 800% increase in assaults on officers, and it's just it's unfortunate, and I think it definitely it needs to stop.
Are these instances where people are like professional agitators and they're looking to be arrested? They're trying to instigate an incident that they can use for political purposes?
I think there's some of that for sure. A lot of it where our officers are very good at doing their job. And so that when they go and conduct an arrest, they try to, get in and get out of that area as soon as possible, to try to avoid this. And, the unfortunate part is I think a lot of these people that are obstructing are thinking that, okay, if they obstruct so much that we're going to just stop doing the job. And that's not the case. We're going to continue doing the job. We'll find other ways of doing it to make sure that we keep our officers safe and the public safe. But we're not going to stop doing the job.
And the other sort of general criticism, often without any foundation, almost exclusively without any foundation, as far as I've seen, is the conditions in which people who you detain, who you apprehend, actually, the conditions in which they're held pending adjudication of their cases or execution of an order. In many cases, of course, they already have a deportation order, but just ICE's attention to the detail of conditions to people they apprehend, for people they apprehend.
And I think that, the truth of the matter is that the conditions which our ICE detainees are held are pretty amazing. I mean, for one thing, our detention for immigration purposes is not a punitive detention. We're not charging somebody essentially with a certain immigration crime. We're charging them with being here illegally or some charge. And the fact is they're not getting served a sentence. We use our detention solely for the removal period. We want to keep people in detention as little as possible. Essentially, our detention is only to effect removal. That's what we use detention for, and so therefore it's different. It's not a punitive detention. Unfortunately, we don't have any detention here in Illinois, so a lot of times we'll arrest somebody in Illinois, they're moved somewhere else, to Wisconsin or Indiana or another place. But even within those facilities that we move them, we have agreements with numerous county jails. But the standards that they're under for our detainees are different than the standards are for, say, if you or I were in custody there as well. They have a lot more, a larger breadth of options that they can do, just consular type visits, consular type rights to contact their attorney, like a lot of these things that, say, you or I wouldn't get.
And so they're not being disappeared. Of course, this is the other charge. If that, what happened to somebody who is apprehended by ICE is knowable. They're not. Julia Calderon was here one day and then she's just gone, and we don't know. We just have to pray for her. That's all performative.
It very much so is. Everybody that we arrest is afforded an opportunity for a phone call. They're afforded the opportunity to contact their consulate, right? I mean, that's something that we have to do, like per the Geneva Convention. Mm-hmm. We have an online detainee locator system, so a family knows the person's name and date of birth. They can find them online. We have posted on ice.gov website like an outreach mailbox that people can email us questions, and if appropriate, we're going to respond back to them. So yeah, these aren't kidnappings at all. The information is very readily available.
Sam Olson is the field office director for the ICE office in Chicago. Sam, thanks very much for your time, and appreciate those details. I think they're very helpful for the people to hear.
All right. Thank you so much for having me. And
Sam Olson joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Sponsored by AxeCap Ventures. America, listen up. Gold prices are breaking records. With inflation raging and central banks hoarding, every American should own gold. And like